Russia has started processing a drug-free variety of cannabis and is also planning to grow the revolutionary Miscanthus plant. And this news is more important than you think, but first, let's list the most interesting events that happened in our country during the week. Thus, Power Machines put into operation the production of cast blades, where, for the first time in Russia, a critical technology of creating the most complex parts of gas turbines, hot path blade castings, was introduced. Over 6 billion rubles have been invested in the production area of more than 6,000 square meters. The capacity of the new production facility is designed to produce 16 sets of cast blades of high-capacity gas turbines per year with the possibility of increasing up to 24 sets. Serial production of Russian Aquarius monitors has started. 2 models are available with 27 and 23.8 diagonal screens. Both feature anti-reflective coating, full HD resolution and support low blue light, FreeSync and flicker-free technology for eye protection. The monitors are fully designed and manufactured by the company's specialists in Russia. The prototype of the Russian Il-96-400M wide-body long-haul airplane has taken to the air for the first time. During the flight, the stability, controllability of the aircraft, performance of systems, power plant and radio equipment were checked. Approach to landing. The test program went on as normal. The stable operation of Russian systems and equipment was confirmed. Russian Helicopter Holding has unveiled the newest Mi-171A3 helicopter. It can be used for a wide range of tasks. With a maximum takeoff weight of 13 tons, this helicopter can carry up to 24 passengers or up to 4 tons of cargo in the cabin. The range of the helicopter with additional fuel tanks reaches 1,000 kilometers. Ural Cryomash introduced a new tank container for cryogenic products. The tank container belongs to the model KCT754508 and is designed for transportation and storage of liquefied natural gas, nitrogen, oxygen, ethylene and other liquefied gases. Has a maximum vessel capacity of 45 cubic meters and a drainage-free storage time of liquefied natural gas of at least 80 days. A new plant specializing in the production of shut-off valves for oil and gas platforms and LNG has started operations at the Kingisepp machine building plant site in St. Petersburg. Investments in production amounted to about 2 billion rubles. The equipment produced by the plant will be able to operate at extremely low temperatures, from -196 degrees Celsius and high temperatures up to +1100 degrees Celsius. Novosibirsk scientists have created a material for the production of computer memory. It can retain data at temperatures up to 1300 degrees Celsius, and the number of rewrite cycles can exceed 10 to the 10th degree. It is a natural mineral composed of calcium, aluminum and oxygen. In its normal state, it is an insulator. Scientists will replace some of the oxygen with electrons. Its electrical conductivity increases by 14 orders of magnitude. The Arctic Research Center has developed 5 materials for 3D printing ship parts. These are metal powders that can be used to grow parts using additive technologies. These 5 powders are now present in the Marine Register. There's a separate GOST for them. The EG2 terabytes and VOLGA 4.0 DC electric train manufactured by TVZ has successfully passed part of the tests at the high-speed test site in Belorechynsk and is now completing a set of preliminary and certification tests. The electric train is 97% made of domestically produced components. Now, how Russia started processing drug-free cannabis. And this news is bigger than you think. Makash has launched the largest enterprise in Europe and Russia for deep processing of edible hemp seeds in the Tula region. Capacity of 20,000 tons per year. A hemp seed processing plant was launched in the Tula region, in a special economic zone. Uzlovaya. The products are planned to be used in confectionery, toppings, cookies, gingerbread, ice cream, herbal drinks, bars, grain bread, sauces and protein production, said Vladimir Aberyshev, director of the enterprise. The plant plans to produce purified hemp kernels, hemp flour, cold-pressed oil, water-soluble hemp protein concentrate, hemp fiber, and hemp plant drink. The volume of investment in the project amounted to 1 billion rubles. What's interesting is that 90% of the equipment is domestically produced, and all the raw materials, cannabis seeds, are only domestically produced. But the most interesting thing here is different. The fact is that according to Rosstat, Russia collects 2-3,000 tons of cannabis seeds per year. It turns out that the plant's capacity is an order of magnitude higher than the entire cannabis harvest in Russia. It is stated that there will be no imported raw materials. The second important point, 20,000 tons is really a gigantic capacity of the plant. Today, the largest such plant is in Estonia and it is 4 times smaller. Most likely just with a parallel increase in the production of raw materials. In essence, the new plant is the creation of a completely new market in Russia. In the 1930s, food hemp acreage was as high as 1 million hectare. Hemp was used to make clothes and shoes, paper and paints, cosmetics and medicines, vegetable oil and grain, even fuel and plastic. The country was the main producer and exporter of the plant in the world. By 1940, Russia was growing 4/5 of the world's hemp. Overwhelming leadership was maintained until the 1970s. For various reasons, under pressure from Western organizations, cannabis cultivation has gradually been reduced to almost a statistical margin of error. If at the peak in our country 1 million hectares were under crops, now only about 12,000 hectares have been sown. Russia has now become the largest importer of hemp products. This is despite the fact that work on the creation of cannabis varieties that do not have narcotic activity has been carried out in our country since 1973. Such new varieties of southern hemp as Zenitsa, Kubanskaya, Early, Slavyanka, Pava were introduced into the state register of breeding achievements in the late 1990s and early 2000s. There are no narcotic substances in these varieties. In 2007, the Russian government issued a decree defining and authorizing the cultivation of drug-free cannabis varieties included in the state register of breeding achievements. And yet, despite the appearance of drug-free varieties and authorization for their commercial cultivation, few people wanted to get involved with this crop. It's about stereotypes too, of course, but the main point is that there was simply no cannabis processing capacity in the country. It was a vicious circle: no raw materials, no processing, no processing, no raw materials. And now, it looks like investors from Makash have decided to cut that Gordian knot, creating a powerful recycling plant, thereby creating a market for this plant in Russia. This means an incentive for farmers and agro holdings to grow this crop and increase passive hemp acreage in Russia. This is how, before our eyes, the country is not just creating a new market, but, in fact, reviving traditions in the field in which our country used to be a world leader. But another interesting thing happened as well. A revolutionary plant, Miscanthus, is about to be planted in Russia. Remember how Nikita Khrushchev dreamed of planting the entire Soviet Union with corn? They called him the Cornhusker for that. So, modern Russia may have a similar idea, only this time more adequate. There's a plant called Miscanthus. Gardeners use it to beautify their plots. It looks something like a reed, not to be confused with Sargassum. The plant belongs to the cereals subfamily millet. The closest known relatives are just that corn, as well as millet and sugarcane. So there is a project that is already being compared to the corn project. Namely, to plant large areas in our country with Miscanthus. For what? And this is very interesting. In fact, no valuable fruit is actually produced by Miscanthus. Well, that is, you can't get sugar from it like you can from a sugarcane relative, or grain like you can from corn or millet. In fact, it could even be called a weed that is still perennial. You sow a field with it, and for 20 to 30 years it grows on its own. So what's it for then? To be a weird celluloid? Maybe that's what our enemies will call Russia in 10 to 15 years. Miscanthus is an excellent source of cellulose, and cellulose is one of the most important resources of our time, and is likely the material of the future. Simply put, cellulose is wood. It is used to make, for example, paper and various biodegradable packaging such as egg containers. But not only that, cellulose is extensively used for building materials, fabrics, alcohol, plastics, and household chemicals. Moreover, cellulose is used in pharmaceuticals, aircraft construction, and even the space industry. For example, it can be used to produce carbon fiber, which would be used to build a wing for a modern airplane. In short, there's a lot of stuff they make out of this pulp. What is pulp extracted from now? First of all, it is the very wood, that is, the forest. And also cotton, which is 90 to 95% cellulose. For example, a forest yields about 40 tons of pulp from each hectare. Plot 100 by 100 meters. However, for this to happen, the forest must grow for 60 to 80 years. Well, and in general, the forest is the basis of the ecosystem. It's not good to cut down forests in immense quantities. Cotton is an excellent cellulosic crop, and it was also actively cultivated in the Soviet Union. But mostly in Central Asia, South Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan. Since the crop is very heat-loving and water-loving. It is because of cotton cultivation that the Aral Sea is believed to have dried up. Water was actively drawn from it to irrigate cotton fields. In short, it turns out that in order to obtain pulp in modern Russia, it is necessary either to buy it from other cotton-growing countries or to cut down its own forests. Miscanthus can be a great alternative. Wood and cotton. 1 hectare of this crop yields from 4 to 8 tons of pulp. Yes, the forest yields 40 tons, but that's once every 70 years, while Miscanthus yields at least 4 tons every year. Thus, in just 10 years, a Miscanthus plantation produces as much pulp as a forest. Just don't cut down the forest. How not? The thoughtful listener will ask. Because a Miscanthus plantation needs land. And we have it either under other grains, wheat, oats, and so on, or under forests, or something else of value. Where to get so much free land? The beauty of Miscanthus is that, like reeds, it grows where other plants refuse to grow. These are, for example, wetlands, steppes, and so on. So these are lands that are currently idle as it is. No forest or wheat grows there, but Miscanthus will. This is millions of square kilometers of Russia. The fact that Miscanthus don't need to be seeded every year is also an important plus. Are perennials. Plantation lifespan is up to 30 years. In addition, it does not propagate by seed. This means that the plant will not sprawl uncontrollably outside the plantation. A few years ago, an experimental Miscanthus plantation was sown in the Moscow region. They have also started building a plant to process it. Within a few years, the plantation had expanded considerably. Now the question of serious introduction of this culture in the Novosibirsk region and further on throughout Russia is being raised. It may be possible to develop more productive varieties of Miscanthus. But this is also a case where, say, genetic modification wouldn't hurt in order to increase the cellulose content as well as the plant's resistance to bad weather conditions. In any case, we can expect that Russia may become a serious exporter not only of hydrocarbons, fertilizers, grain, weapons, nuclear power plants and other things, but also of cellulose, the most important resource for any modern economy.